If you want to see a predictable, simplistic movie that will make you want to locate the audio engineer so you can beat them up, as you can barely hear anything that they are saying over the horrible soundtrack. A film that gives a bad name to single mothers, not because they did anything wrong, but because the children may turn out to have inherited the stupidity of their absentee fathers. Ada Omodadi by Mercy Aigbe is the movie for you. The movie released in cinemas in December 2023, but is currently now showing on Netflix. The movie is about 2 hours long, but I don't think it has 2 hours worth of story. So I'm hoping that this review will be a short one. So let's start from the beginning. So we have this rich family, two parents, three children, with a lot of gaudy taste, and I really wonder how no one went blind during the shooting of this thing. Everything is just so shiny in the house. Ew. It's established that they are very rich because the youngest, who I think is a social media influencer, reportedly casually just has two Birkin bags. But you can't deceive me because no family that can actually afford a Birkin will struggle to buy enough land to fit a proper swimming pool. Because at this point, this stuff just looks like a death trap. The patriarch, Chief Balogun, owns a cooking gas company. The mom doesn't need to do anything because it's Shola Shobowale, and who I will always and forever call Tony Tomato, by the way. Super story lovers will understand. I've never really gotten used to her actual name. Now, the only son is like the nicest brother you have ever seen, always smiling and playing with his sisters. I'm not convinced, Sha, because have you ever seen a brother who doesn't fight with his sisters? This family is like Mercy Aigbe's fever dream of what a happy family looks like. Unfortunately, I don't buy it because, again, no family can be truly happy with this kind of swimming pool. Finally, we have Bero, the eldest daughter and heiress to the empire of cooking gas cylinders, as she was just made the MD after her father's voluntary retirement. In fact, this family is so perfect that Bero just got engaged to her boyfriend, who is the ultimate paper cut out of a character. And this engagement happens in a, let me say, soundtrackingly confusing scene where the soundtrack is a very loud woman singing, but it's a man that is actually on ground that is emceeing the event, and we can't hear him, even though we can somehow hear everyone clapping. It's just so weird. See, something you need to know right off the bat, and I cannot wait for the verdict, is that the sound engineer for this movie needs to go to jail. I don't think I have actually ever seen something so atrocious. I just kept wondering how anyone was able to enjoy this stuff in the cinema where it obviously would have not had any subtitles. The sound is bad. For a lot of it, you can't hear the dialogue because I don't know, was the audio engineer like deaf or what? Anyway, back to the story. So the news of this engagement goes viral, and in the East, Charles Okafor, who plays the character Ifeanyi, an actor who I haven't seen for like, I don't know, like 15 years, sees this and hurries to Lagos with his daughter because something is troubling him. It turns out that Bero is his daughter from a previous marriage, and Ireti, played by Tony Tomato, has refused to publicly acknowledge it or connect the two of them. He calls Ireti to talk about it and demand his daughter back, even though I am a little lost on the modality of demanding an adult child back. But she shuts him down in the way that only Tony Tomato knows how. And I'm not even sure how he got her number. Now, he takes things up a notch by actually contacting Bero again. I don't know how he got her number and telling her that he is actually her father. But, obviously she thinks he's a fraud, and she also refuses to speak with him. So he sends her a message challenging her to speak with her mother, to ask her mother about it. Troubled by this, she actually does, and the mom and auntie are very adamant about how Ifeanyi is probably a blackmailer or a scammer or a fraudster, and that he should be ignored. And by the way, this movie also does this weird cut thing in some scenes, which I found quite disconcerting. Now, Bero's mother, Ireti, is a bit jittery about Ifeanyi coming to spoil the happiness of her family. So she, along with her sister, played by Mercy Aigbe, goes to Ifeanyi's uncle's place in Lagos to talk to him. How they got the address again. I don't know. People just know things in this movie. They talk to him and basically they threaten and warn him to stop contacting Pero. Now, like many scenes in this movie, it's a really long scene where they basically repeat the same story beats, and the only reason it held my interest was because Tony Tomato was the one that was doing most of the talking. This confrontation pisses both Ifeanyi and the uncle off. So, as a plan B or whatever, he sends a picture of himself, Ireti, and Pero during her naming ceremony to Bero's office. Now, on seeing these pictures, Bero is understandably shocked. She confronts her mother again, and this time the truth comes out. Now, it turns out that when Ireti was a copper back in the day, she fell in love with a copper who lived opposite her or something, and then got pregnant. Now, the pregnancy was first denied by Ifeanyi, but later on, there was some sort of stubborn acceptance of it, and this led into them getting married. Now, this was a really unhealthy marriage. There was a lot of neglect. There was a lot of very unabashed cheating. There was abandonment, and it was just crazy because Ireti was not happy at all. Now, the straw that broke the camel's back was that a few months after Bero's birth, she was terribly sick, and Ifeanyi did not even care to accompany the mother to the hospital. He just came in with some girl and just, basically just sent her out. And this was on a night where there were cultists fighting outside. So it was really a crazy time. And after this, Ireti just decided to up and leave the marriage. Like many other scenes in this movie, this revelational scene has a lot of very, very loud background music. So sometimes you can't hear anything at all. And if not for the subtitle, you would not have understood what they were talking about. Understandably, Bero is shocked and disappointed that no one had bothered to tell her about her parentage all these years. I'm not sure what her age is, but she's definitely an adult. I mean, she's the MD of her father's companies. And so she withdraws into herself. Her father comes to talk to her about it, but he doesn't give a satisfying answer to her questions. Even I would concede that. His answers to her didn't even sound really intelligent, unfortunately. I think it was a badly written scene. Yes, I know that they are trying to show the elderly man, being more traditional, but this is not a very traditional situation because he's not her biological father and he owes it to her to have said something. The next thing is a very confusing one. Pero calls Ifeanyi, that's her biological father, and apologizes for standing him up the other night. I have no idea what she's talking about. As far as I know, and I rewound this multiple times, they haven't spoken since he called her office and she called him a fraudster. So it seems that the editor of this movie too needs, some small jail time, something a bit less than the audio engineer. She then asks for his address so that she can come and see where he lives with his uncle and maybe talk to him. And for some reason, on the day of her arrival, Ifeanyi set up a whole ceremony for her, like including a flex banner with her name and, welcome home. Of course, she gets cold feet at this and she turns around at the very last moment and just gets the hell out of that place. I mean, who wouldn't? The next scene has her at lunch with her boyfriend, explaining what happened when she went to see Ifeanyi. Then the very next scene has her in Ifeanyi's house, asking Ifeanyi about her childhood and why he's only reaching out to her. I don't know what happened. I don't know how all of a sudden she just appeared at his house. I don't know. I don't know, man. But after a sad story about his second wife leaving him and him losing his son in an accident, he says he just really wants her to know who she really is and where her real family is from. Now, honestly, I didn't buy it at all. If she was not a successful woman, I wonder if this would have happened. It all just seemed a bit too surface level to me. And also, you are a poor man. Why would she want to know that you are not rich enough to eat akara with fork and knife like her adoptive father? Why would she want to come back to your house that is on the ground floor, yet still somehow requires 5 steps to enter? You don't even have a swimming pool. The only water body near the house is inside pothole. So I don't know what's all this. I want you to know where you are really from. Please, oh. Some sort of relationship develops from there, and she begins frequenting his house. And I really wish that we could have seen how his only other daughter reacted to having Pero, who she knows as a celebrity on Instagram as her big sister. Somehow the movie just glosses over that. I felt like it may have added another dimension because it's a pretty one-track, very predictable movie in general. Ifeanyi admits that he tried to look for her when she was about 2 years old, but that her mother refused. But we can see from the recollection that he basically just wanted to wrest her away from her mother and deliver her to his own mother. So this sounded more like an attempted abduction than a reconciliation with a child that you left for dead when she was only a few months. But the movie seems to think it's valid enough to count as him looking for his daughter. So I don't know. Ifeanyi's uncle mentions her upcoming wedding and how important it is for her newly discovered biological father to give his blessings. And by the way, Chiwetalu, who I call Ipo because when I was a kid there was this movie Osofia in the original Osofia movie with Nkem Owo. Chiwetalu is there and his name is Ipo. So I just grew up just fondly calling him Ipo the same way the rest of you call Nkemo or Sophia. Now, Ibo looks a bit sick and dazed in this movie. I got the impression that he was only dimly aware of where he was at any point in time. I don't know. Anyway, his new perspective drops some tension into Bero, and since she has to reconcile their demands with the fact of her adoptive father. Now, all these visits soon bring her in conflict with her mother, Toyin Tomato, culminating in a very Toyin Tomato branded slap. In anger, Bero goes offline and leaves home for a few days, and since she has everyone all worried and they can't find her, they end up setting their sights on Ifeanyi and arresting him on suspicion that he abducted her. Now, after some interrogation and a heartfelt conversation between Chief Balogun and Ifeanyi, the chief basically asks the police to release him because he believes that he truly has no idea where Bero is. And because they forgot to remind us how rich Bero's brother is, we also learned that he's going for his self-funded PhD at UC Berkeley. PhD at UC Berkeley. They should have used that money to buy land and build a bigger swimming pool. Pero later shows up and it turns out that she had lodged herself into a hotel, to take some time off and think about her life and her future and whatever. Basically, I just cool off. So, all is right with the world again. So now it's the wedding day, and by the way, this is a really, really beautiful church. The inside is not so nice. I don't know. They didn't take any liberties with the design of the inside, but the outside looks fantastic. I had to Google the church because I didn't even know that. I have never seen this church before. In an unexpected but totally boring turn of events, Chief Balogun ends up handing Bero over to Ifeanyi so that he's the one who gets to walk her to the altar. And this is, of course, to the great dismay of Ireti. Ireti's sister, takes out a small vengeance on Ifeanyi's family by ordering the caterer to not serve them at the wedding. And I wonder how that, I don't know, it just happened that they never actually ate anything at the wedding. At the wedding, Ifeanyi then begs and receives the forgiveness of Ireti, and that's basically, even though you know how I feel, I guess we can go to the verdict. First of all, the soundtrack is bad. It's too damn loud. Sometimes, no, I've said it before, so I won't belabor the point. But how did anybody see this in the cinema, and how did they not even at least make a few edits before they released this for Netflix? At some point, I had to unplug one of my surround speakers because I could hear the sound of cars in a scene more than I could hear the dialogue. So I had to unplug the speaker that was boosting the sound of the cars, just so that I could try to understand what it was that they were talking about. It was crazy. Now, secondly, this movie is written like a drama, but it is shot like a comedy. For instance, what am I supposed to do with this kind of intro? Is this like the Johnsons or is this Nickelodeon or what? I was a bit confused. The first time I played this movie on Netflix, when I saw this intro, I paused to check if perhaps it was a series. Because this is the first time I'm seeing this sort of thing in a movie. For the story, I think it's quite simplistic. I also hear that this is Messi Aigbe's first attempt at a cinema movie. I don't know. I think it was poor in general. It's it's like it's like those stories that we used to read as children, all those Chike and the River, those Rally the Sugar Girl, those small books that you just buy in traffic, that you consume in like 3 hours. That is exactly the vibe this gave me. They tried to deceive us with all the luxury and all the fine house and all the cars, but at its most basic, it's a really, really simple story for maybe people in junior secondary school. Personally, I don't think it's an interesting movie. I don't know if I'm in the minority or not, because I did not check other opinion. I did not go on Twitter, but I think it was rather dull, and 2 hours for this stuff is far too long. This is like a 30 minutes short film. Yeah, it's like a 30 minute short film, because we only had one central conflict and no branching, there were no second order effects. There was no other weird storyline, that was caught in the web of another person. It was just all so simple. Oh, it's my daughter. Oh, no, it's not your daughter. Oh, it's my daughter. Please reveal her to the world. No, I will not reveal her to the world. Please forgive me. I don't know. It was just. It's only natural that Bero would like to reach out to her father, but having heard about how he behaved to her mother, whom she loves very much, relating with him on that level seemed a bit of a betrayal, seemed a bit of a disappointment. I didn't really understand why she did that. I didn't agree with it, and she didn't seem to have any wisdom regarding the interaction, because I would have thought that, having heard, I don't know, it seemed counterintuitive, though I certainly believe that, I'm sure there are kids that would behave like this. So that was bad. But the fact that this particular aspect of the movie sparked conversations, yeah, okay, so it's a bit of a credit in my mind. So overall, for the whole movie, I would give it like maybe a 1.5/5. It probably have been 2, but that audio is just so bad. In fact, I should have taken it back to 1. But I just want to be, kind. I know this is Messi Aigbe's first cinema production. Let's just leave it at 1/5, 1.5/5, and that's like being really, really generous, because today is Sunday and I am wearing my church mind. All right, that will be all for this review. Let me know what you think if you have seen this movie. I'd also like to mention that if you like my content and you'd like to support this channel, I'd appreciate if you give me a follow on Instagram or on Twitter. My name on Twitter is Ekwe Reviews. Same thing on Instagram. So the link will be in the description. All right, then that'll be all. See you in the next one.